All right, welcome back to KM6LYW Radio, the show about amateur radio or ham radio, reimagining radio in the information age. Hey, today we're going to talk a little bit about the radio everyone loves to hate. That's the Baofeng UV5R, or maybe more specifically, we are going to take a look at the new Baofeng Mini. Does it suck less at packet radio? Let's find out this time on KM6LYW Radio. Where do we stop? I don't know where to stop on those. Free bumper music. Yes, welcome back. Yeah, we're always looking for new jingles there. It's got to be short, guitar-oriented, and recognizable. All right. The Baofeng Mini. I guess that's what we're calling it. The Baofeng Mini. I just got one of these just because everyone else is getting one, and I assume the worst. But I was actually pleasantly surprised on the packet radio performance here. So if you don't know what a Baofeng radio is, well, first of all, welcome to amateur radio. This is a dual band transceiver for VHF and UHF for ham radio or amateur radio. It does require a license to operate, and that's mostly because of the frequencies it uses and the power level. It's a full 5 watts. That's like 10 times more powerful than a traditional APRS walkie-talkie. So really handy kind of device here. Very low power, has a simple battery. The single best feature about this particular ham radio is the price. You can see it there. It's $34. That's for two, okay? 2 walkie-talkies for $34. That's incredible. That really gets people into amateur radio. It makes it more approachable. That's the best part. The bad news is that it's a very poor receiver. The transmitter is actually pretty good. It's a very poor receiver. It has really no input filtering, so it kind of overloads, it desenses. It can't hear weak stations as well as a traditional amateur radio, like something by one of the Japanese companies like Yaesu or Kinwood or ICOM. These are a lot more expensive, though, too, but they have a lot more selectivity, so they're going to pull in weak stations. And when we're talking about packet radio, we're talking about receiving digipeters, and if there's a weak one, this guy just isn't going to pick it up. So I don't really use this guy unless, I'm trying to help someone get into packet radio cheap. If you got a close digipeater, it's fine. Just for embracing the horror of it all, I bought the UV5R Mini here that you see. They're incredibly cheap. And I just assumed the worst, right? I was going to plug it in, and it's hardly going to receive any packets. Transmit's going to be fine, but it's just not going to receive anything. Actually, this is a lot better. Evidently, they have included some input filtering, some band pass filtering, so it doesn't desense like it traditionally does. Desense means if there's a strong radio signal nearby, it will basically kind of blast out the frequency that you're trying to listen to. And that could be FM radio as well. So Baofengs are software-defined radios, which means there's a little computer chip in there that decides what to play over the speaker, whereas a super heterodyning radio like this is more of an analog process, more filtering, more channel separation. So it's great for strong signals, and the price is right. Now, what we discovered, at least on this guy, is like 3 chips, right? There's a radio transceiver chip, there is an operating system chip, and there's a wide FM receiver for like broadcast or commercial FM. That's it. No filtering. So if you're trying to listen to a station and there's something on a nearby frequency or even on broadcast FM that's even remotely loud, the radio desenses and it just can't bring in the station that you're trying to listen to. Now, this radio is very similar. The Mini, it has the same chips on it, but it also has input filtering. So it doesn't have the desense problem, so it can pick up remote stations, specifically digipeters. So you're going to get a lot more packet reception with the Mini. And I did some testing here, not only with this radio, but a whole bunch of different radios. So I don't know how scientific this process is, but these are just some empirical observations. So what I did was take each radio that I have here, and I hooked it up to a really nice antenna on the roof. That's the Diamond X200. And I just listened on frequency 144.39 for packets, and I recorded the number of packets I received in an hour. I didn't do any transmissions here, because transmission's really not up for questioning here. So some radios received a lot more than others. Remember, time of day has a big influence on this too. Like at noon during the rush hour, you're probably going to see more packets. So I did it throughout the day. Ideally, we would have all radios hooked up to a single antenna at the exact same time, but I don't really have that kind of apparatus. So just take this for what it's worth. And we're going to see the packet counts here. I've tested this old UV5R before, and the results are absolutely dismal compared to the super heterodyning rigs like the Yaesus and stuff. So I never really used it for anything serious. Let's see what the test results are here. I've got them tabulated for you. So, you can actually run this test yourself if you have Direwolf or a Digipi. Make sure the TNC or iGate is on here. That way it's listening to packets. Make sure your radio is tuned to 14439. Use the bottom VFO, okay, on your Mini. That took me a minute. The bottom VFO is the one that's actually active. We've got a Raspberry Pi or Digipi hooked up to this and a AIO-C cable. So it basically gives your radio a USB port. And Digipi is really the thing driving all of this, the screens, the displays, and then there's Direwolf doing the packet stuff. What you want to look at is packet log down here. When you click on that, it shows you the actual packet data being received. So we can see a bunch of stations here. We've got Hope Mountain, K6FGA. The important thing is the audio level here. This means it came in over RF, and the audio level here is 46, 47, here's an 88, that's a little high. What you want to do is adjust your radio's volume until that averages about 50. Anything between 20 and 80 is good, but really see if you can target 50. That way you're really getting the best possible transmission and the best dynamic range from an audio perspective. And you're going to see Direwolf is getting a lot more decodes. In fact, if you look at these little pipe signals, Direwolf has like 9 decoders running fast Fourier transforms, and each pipe symbol you see is good. The more the better. That means these are each of the decoders that actually decoded that signal. So in that case, we had 5 decoders decoded it, and others did not. And it really, they have different emphasis. So EQ emphasis to help get a good decode. So Direwolf is like the best packet radio software ever, hands down. I'll defend that. Great software. So this is the process. So what we want to do is run this for an hour and then see how many packets we get. I'm just going to search for audio level. Okay, so go over here. I'm actually going to hit Control C and open a new shell. All right, so what you want to do is cat direwolf.log. I want to grep audio. So that's every line that has the word audio in it, because we know that's a received packet. And I want to pipe that to WC, which stands for word count. And I want to see the number of lines in that file. So here we see 1,254 packets were received. While this has been running for a couple of hours, obviously. So this isn't part of the test. This is just part of how we conducted the test. So this is how you can do this at home to see how many packets you've actually received. I'm doing some Linux skills there. And this is the result here. Let's check this out. I have got the result. I spent most of the day yesterday doing this. So the Baofeng Mini was the first one I tested, and it was pretty exciting. I got 379 packets. Actually, I expected a lot less, because an hour later, the UV5R, the traditional Baofeng here, it got 13 packets. 13 received packets in an hour. And honestly, they are all from the same digipeater, which was 4 miles away. It couldn't hear any other remote digipeaters. But up here with this thing, we got 379. So I was like, wow, this is it. This is a $15 radio, and it actually has some decent packet performance. So just kind of as a control group, I took the expensive. You can get these used for about $200. But I plan to pay maybe $300 or $400 for a Japanese handheld. That handheld, of course, got what we might expect at 702 packets in an hour. But that was at the noontime hour. I figured a lot of people will be driving around for lunch hour, so that might have skewed the results a little bit. Yeah, it possibly did. So I did the same test with this Japanese radio, the Yaesu again, and I got 600 packets this time. Still fantastic. So I don't know, maybe there was a lunch hour bump on the previous hour. Okay, maybe that was a fluke on the Mini. Let's try the Mini again. And I actually got more packets. This is at 2:30 p.m. I got 597. That was 3 packets short of the Japanese radio, 1 hour apart. That's incredible. I really, really, I was kind of blown away. It's like I was checking all the logs, maybe my scripts are bad. No, that was legit. So I went back to the Baofeng UV5R just to see, and it went from 13 to 124. But honestly, I think there's a lot of messaging traffic. There's an unusual number of packets going through at 3:30 p.m. when I tested this again. But still, 124 is dismal for this original Baofeng UV5R. For packet radio. And just kind of as a control group, I also had a Yaesu 2980, which is a dual band rig that I use for my packet repeater. That's right over here, if you can see it. And I got a Digipi up there. That actually got 363. I expected a lot better there. That was at 5:40 a.m. this morning, though. Not a lot of activity at 5 a.m. So I expect this Yaesu 2980 to be on par. It basically has the same type of receiver technology as this Yaesu. I also tested the Yaesu FTM 400, which did pretty well at 6:45 in the morning. I got 472 packets on the Yaesu FTM 400 sitting over there on the VHF desk. So the Japanese radios are nailing it, and they've always nailed it. The UV5R, the original, has always just sucked hard at packet radio. It just can't hear. But this is a close second to the Japanese radios for packet radio. So I'm definitely going to use this in an environment where, it has some little, I don't care if I drop it or if it rolls down a cliff or maybe in the field. I'm going to try this out. Plus the battery life looks good. It's lightweight. I can take this backpacking. Ideally, we could take like a Raspberry Pi like this and double-sided sticky tape it right to the back of this, and then you have a amateur radio TNC and radio combination all in one unit like this. And this is extremely cheap, right? We're talking $15 for the radio and $18 for the Raspberry Pi. Maybe 25 with a cool little screen. You don't need an expensive Raspberry Pi 5 to make this work. But that's it. So this is a great option now. The Baofeng UV5R Mini with an emphasis on the Mini. So if you want to do these types of packet radio operations and a whole lot more, check out digipi.org. Everyone over here, all the patrons of the channel get access to the Digipi SD card, which you put in any Raspberry Pi and then hook it up to your radio. And there's lots of cool radio interface adapters. And you get packet radio operations. In fact, it does every mode you can think of. There's a web management interface. Today we just covered APRS and TNC and iGate. But we can do things like WSJTX, email, we can do X.25 networking. This is all available via your web browser over Wi-Fi. So it kind of turns your radio into a local website. So digipi.org gets you access to all of that. It's not a half-baked Linux project. It's really kind of an Internet of Things of amateur radio. You fill out a form here with your call sign and all your information, then everything suddenly starts working. That's the web management interface. We got a big format, a little format. If you've got a USB-based radio, all you need is a USB cable and you're ready to rock. In fact, this little AIOC device, this red thing, basically gives your Baofeng a USB port, and you plug that directly into a Raspberry Pi and you get all of these data modes. Here it is running WSJTX FT8 via Wi-Fi tablet. We've got some cool screens going for it. APRS chat. I don't know if you've ever tried to text using an HT, but it's a hassle. But if you have a web browser and Wi-Fi and Digipi, you can do APRS messaging just like it's any other app on your phone. We got some cool hardware that's been developed in support of Digipi. Masters Communications got a device there where you can be a tracker with a GPS. We can do email over WinLink, all with Digipi. Hey, we see WSJTX in a web browser there. And of course, FL Digi, this is one of my favorites, at PSK38. Again, all done over a tablet, over Wi-Fi, JSA call. Lots of modes, slow scan television. We've even got a bulletin board system on here where you can play Zork over AX.25. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. This has been a lot of fun. This is definitely a pleasant surprise to see packet radio working really well on the newer Baofeng, the Baofeng Mini. Hey, guys, my name is Craig, amateur radio call sign KM6LYW. I'm in California and I'm clear.